Yeah, I think there's not a character in this story who isn't living with some level of guilt, grief, regret,
Yeah.
and strong relationship to the past.
One of the things that I love about the film is the mix of genre. It's a western with supernatural, with suspense, thriller, so many things. How do you balance you as an actress to be like in the level of different genre because it's bending? It's like we have 30 minutes of something, 20 minutes of something, then we go back to suspense, but there's a western. So like how do you manage yourself? And you have to be a mother, you have to protect. There's so many things that your character has to handle.
It's true. Here's what I try to do. Here's my also my advice to other performers. My other advice to performers is like, all you have to do is tell the truth. So there's sometimes when you're working in certain genres where your performance kind of like modulates to the genre. In this instance, I knew that, Guy and I both knew that our characters were going to be the grounding force. Like if you lose sight of like the nucleus of this film, once you're meeting all these other characters or you're kind of like genre jumping, as you've
Yeah.
like so astutely surmised, you're gonna lose out on the audience being like caring, honestly.
Mhm.
So all I had to do as Sarah was respond honestly to like the given circumstances, as crazy as they got. That's all I had to do.
But it's interesting that you mentioned Guy's character because sometimes you guys are like you are friends, but then you are adversary. I don't
Yeah.
want to give a lot of it, but like, how do you navigate that with him? Because it's based on trust, but how do you trust someone that you can't trust?
It's true. That's a great question. That was absolutely, kind of moment to moment. And I think as performers, what's required is trust because to authentically embody both of those things, to like, it's actually harder almost when you like somebody to get to those scenes where you're more adversarial.
Hmm.
Because then you'll have to be like, oh, right, I hate you right now. And Guy in and of himself is enormously likable. He's such a wonderful person. He's such a beautiful actor. So yeah, it was one of those instances where I had to be like, all right, I'm supposed to hate your guts at this moment.
But also the landscape, the whole setting of, the play and everything is to me it's a character.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's something good. It helps you creating emotional like connection with your character because you have to be. This is what we're living right now, and I have to protect my child. But my child, kind of, it's special.
Yeah.
And it is like, how do you merge yourself with the environment and create not just because it's a genre. It has to be because what's around you is a constant danger, and you
Yeah.
have to have it in you so you can transmit it to me as an audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so much of that happened by osmosis almost. Like was raised by a single mom in the 90s. I grew up like in Maryland, so it was partially rural. Like my grandfather was like he owned an enormous junkyard, so I was always injured. Like I was in the hospital all the time because I would just be like jumping off of stuff. I had so many tetanus shots. So I had this element, there was naturally an element of like danger in my life as a child. It was half that and then also half like Baltimore City and growing up in the city. So yeah, there's so much about my childhood that felt like the Wild West in many respects. And I just grew up with a mom who was required because she had a wild daughter to be wearing all these hats and always be on guard. And she was also young when she had me, so I knew that couldn't have been easy, but she was just extraordinary and always like lifelong protective. Like she wasn't one of those moms who would take the teacher's side. Like if I said something was wrong, she took my side. So I just saw it modeled. And I don't have children myself. And so that anytime I'm playing a mother, my mother is usually the nucleus of the character that I'm playing.
Did you lean into metaphor to create Sarah? Because for me, the whole movie is about guilt. Even the name is, I don't know, I don't
Hmm.
wanna. But for me,
Yeah.
I felt that the metaphor is something behind. It's about guilt. Every character has something that they feel the guilty of.
Yes.
Is that something important to create the metaphoric part of the movie? It's important to for create Sarah.
Yeah, I think, feeling the level of guilt and also grief
Hmm.
in the body when you're playing a character like that. You really just have to accept the sort of temporary discomfort of what it means. And for every actor, whatever that thing is in your life, whatever, reading on the page enabled me to tap into, that kind of the truth of that emotion. It was essential. And to your point, yeah, I think there's not a character in this story who isn't living with some level of guilt, grief, regret,
Yeah.
and strong relationship to the past.
What do you expect that the me as an audience take away from the movie, but particularly because I find it interesting the Sarah story, like just
Mhm.
Sarah's story.
Yeah.
But beyond everything the supernatural and everything the elements and the genre that we were talking about, what do you expect that people take away from Sarah's perspective of the story?
I just love the exploration and the excavation of faith. The question of what it is. I think we are historically at a moment of like eroded value in many respects. Not many people, and I'm not saying they should, absolutely not telling you what to do with your life, but not many people go to church now. So there's really a lack of there's a lack of faith and spiritual direction. And I love that she is a woman who has a strong faith and is still tested.
Hmm.
I think just the power of seeing that, of like the power of seeing somebody who believes, and you can believe in hope, you can believe in, you can be an optimistic person, and still be in a moment in your life where it is under assault and it's harder to be hopeful, or it's harder to be optimistic, where it's more difficult to have that kind of faith. And so you're really witnessing a character who's moving through a certain kind of spiritual journey that I think that we're all moving through at this moment.
But even there in the movie, I feel that there's a constant fight between faith and science, and it just collide all the time, just like
Yes.
nowadays. It just
Yes.
always it's been colliding. I think from the beginning of
Time.
times.
Yes, absolutely.
This is also an important subject during in the film. Have you been feeling that recently, or have you felt that in your life that science has to collide with science? But if you're a religious person, what are your options at this point?
I think it's interesting because I think there's a level of like a narrowed vision that has to happen for both parties to live. Like if you are, on the science side, right? There's so much that cannot be accounted for
Yeah.
when it comes to just like the timing of people's lives. And, even if you are a scientist and you get into like quantum physics and metaphysics, like there's so much that, science does not know, that goes unexplained. There's so many outliers, right? As a
Hmm.
scientist. So I don't know how you can be on the science side and kind of reconcile all these things that don't make sense. Same thing, if you're on the spiritual side, we rely on science. There's so much scientific innovation that's happened in my lifetime, but also, even you just like take the last 100 years in medicine and, so many ways that society has improved by science that we get to the fact that not even 100 years ago, our lifespan has doubled.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't be alive right now if this were however many years ago, just because,
Yeah.
the lifespan wasn't nearly as long. So, we really do ourselves a disservice when we believe that there's a clash and that there's not room for both of these things to coexist in a symbiotic way.
I disagree that you wouldn't be alive. The life expectancy before was 30 years old, and you have to be like 26, 27 right now.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for this.
You too.